Zohran Mamdani, a leading candidate in the 2025 New York City mayoral race, has faced significant backlash over a personal anecdote he shared about his aunt who, after the September 11th attacks, allegedly stopped riding the subway due to fear of Islamophobia. The story, delivered tearfully during a campaign event outside the Islamic Cultural Center in the Bronx, was intended to highlight the enduring impact of anti-Muslim sentiment. However,
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
It has since been revealed that the woman in question was not his aunt but rather his late father's cousin, Zohran, who passed away several years ago and did not live in New York City during the 9/11 attacks. Additionally, she did not wear a hijab, contrary to Mamdani's initial portrayal. Critics, including Vice President J.D. Vance, have mocked Mamdani for what they perceive as an attempt to exploit personal tragedy for political gain. Vance quipped on social media, according to Zohran, the real victim of 9/11 was his auntie who got some, allegedly, bad looks. In response, Mamdani dismissed the controversy as a distraction, accusing his opponents, particularly former Governor Andrew Cuomo, of fueling Islamophobic narratives to undermine his campaign. This incident has intensified scrutiny of Mamdani's campaign, with opponents questioning his credibility and sincerity. The controversy also intersects with broader debates about the representation of Muslim communities in politics, and the ethical considerations of using personal narratives in political discourse.
How will you respond to President Trump?
Recently, in a recent address about Islamophobia, you referenced your aunt and some of the harassment she was facing post 9/11. Is that a blood relative?
Yes, I was speaking about my aunt. I was speaking about Zohran, my father's cousin, who sadly passed away a few years ago. And for the takeaway from my more than 10-minute address about Islamophobia in this race and in this city to be the question of my aunt tells you everything about Andrew Cuomo and his inability to reckon with a crisis of his own.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is facing criticism over recent comments about his upbringing, which some have labeled misleading. In a recent podcast interview, Newsom described his childhood as financially strained, mentioning that he had to hustle to pay bills, and often ate Wonder Bread and mac and cheese. He portrayed his mother as a hardworking single parent who struggled to make ends meet. However, these claims have been challenged due to Newsom's family's connections to significant wealth. His father, William Newsom, was a prominent judge and attorney for Getty Oil, and his family had close ties with billionaire Gordon Getty. Gordon Getty invested in 10 of Newsom's 11 business ventures, including the Plump Jack Group, which Newsom co-founded. Newsom has acknowledged that Getty treated him like a son and supported his business endeavors. Critics argue that Newsom's portrayal of his upbringing overlooks these affluent connections, casting doubt on the authenticity of his narrative. Some have mocked his claims, pointing out the disparity between his described modest lifestyle and his family's wealth. In response to these criticisms, Newsom's spokesperson maintained that he was raised in modest circumstances by a hardworking single mother. However, the revelations about his family's financial background continue to fuel skepticism about the accuracy of his personal story. This controversy adds to a pattern of scrutiny over Newsom's statements, including previous instances where he faced backlash for other alleged misrepresentations.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms falling off. That's it, whole thing. So just, and then, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else. And started, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night.
The ongoing U.S. government shutdown, which began on October 1, 2025, has significantly impacted the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, jeopardizing food assistance for approximately 42 million Americans. Suspension of SNAP benefits. No federal payments starting November 1st, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, announced that it will not issue federal SNAP benefits on November 1st due to the depletion of funding. The USDA has declined to utilize the $5 billion contingency fund, citing its intended use for emergency situations like natural disasters. State-level actions. Some states, including Virginia and Hawaii, have initiated temporary measures to provide food assistance using state funds. However, these efforts are not federally reimbursed, and long-term sustainability is uncertain. Economic and social implications. Economic impact. Each SNAP dollar generates $1.79 in economic activity. The suspension of benefits is expected to reduce consumer spending, potentially lowering gross domestic product by up to 0.2%, and increasing the risk of a recession. Pressure on food banks. With the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, food banks are experiencing increased demand. Organizations like the Houston Food Bank are offering resources, but their capacity to meet the growing need is limited. Legal and political developments. Controversy over contingency funds. The Trump administration's decision not to use available contingency funds has sparked criticism from Democrats and anti-hunger groups, who argue that these funds should be utilized to prevent a hunger crisis. Potential legal actions. Legal challenges are anticipated, with some groups contending that the administration is legally obligated to ensure the continuation of SNAP benefits during the shutdown. Outlook. The shutdown has become the second longest in U.S. history, with no immediate resolution in sight. The suspension of SNAP benefits is set to commence on November 1, 2025, unless Congress takes action to restore funding.
This is a message to the grocery stores that earn profit from those that are on SNAP and food stamps. And I'm talking about in the New England area. Shaw's, Stop and Shop, Aldi's, Market Basket, Zebra, even Walmart. It's time for you to give back to your community. Stop asking consumers for donations, because I know that's what you're going to do on November 1st, okay? You have made billions of dollars off of families that are either actually paying or that are on SNAP and food stamps. So it is time for you to give back to the community. You can create a little designated area. You can, in your little area where you have your deliveries for people that are picking up items, you can make a little space where you ask them a few questions and you give. You have boxes of food to give away. It should not weigh in and compress on food pantries because they're limited. So that's just my way in. Y'all be well and stop again asking consumers for donations. The accountability should rely on you.
It's out for the single mothers that got kids. Now, what can we do? We can't feed our kids, let alone if we do have jobs. Again, what can we do? Because that was helping us.
Outrage and uncertainty, two things many Memphians who have depended on SNAP, like Cornisha, are feeling as the benefits are set to freeze. The Tennessee Department of Human Services confirmed this will be the case on their website if the government shutdown continues.
Everett Kelly, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, union, spoke emphatically about the government shutdown, particularly emphasizing its impact on federal workers. Here's a breakdown of his main points from the transcript. 1. Urgent call to reopen the government. Kelly demanded that congressional Democrats accept the GOP's interim spending bill to get federal employees back to work. He framed it as a critical step to prevent financial hardship for workers. Put every single federal worker back on the job with full back pay today. 2. Union perspective. As the leader of a union representing more than half of all federal workers, Kelly stressed that the shutdown was creating unnecessary disruption and economic strain. The union's position highlighted the real-world consequences of political deadlock. 3. Political implications. Kelly's stance created a notable break within the Democratic coalition, showing that even key Democratic-aligned labor groups were urging compromise to resolve the shutdown quickly. 4. Underlying message. Kelly's message was simple. Federal workers should not be pawns in political disputes, and their pay and livelihoods should be prioritized above partisan battles. In essence, Kelly's statements framed the shutdown as a practical problem affecting working Americans, urging immediate action to restore normal operations and back pay.
You represent more than 800,000 workers. As you take a step back, tell us what they're going through right now as this standoff drags on and we really don't see an end in sight at this point right now in this moment.
You know, that's my whole concern is the federal employees that I represent. You know, right now, and they have been going through this for 9 months now. You know, it's been dismantling of the agencies, it's been calling names, it's been, you know, you name it, dismantling of the services, ripping away their union rights, and now, you know, the thought of being fired simply because they're in the middle of a political war where they should not be. You know, and so my concern is that they should open the government because these employees are very patriotic employees. They love providing a service for the American people, and they don't want to be in the middle of a political battle used as pawns. They want to get to work. They are very traumatized by what's going on, right? You know, I mean, from one minute to the next, they don't know how to evaluate what tomorrow will bring.